Welcome to another entertainment segment of Impact. I'm your host, filmmaker John Russell Cring, and we're going psychedelic, man. All right, now see, people go, oh, yeah. He pulls out the t-shirt because we're going to be talking about Jimi Hendrix and things like that. No, I already own this t-shirt. I'm sick to death of your attitude. You're too cynical, all right? And we have Frank Krumal here, who I got your name right.
Yes, you did.
All right. I'm very impressed with that. You know, I don't know. I'm very impressed with myself because very few people are actually impressed with me. But Frank is a musician, and he has many talents. But I guess you're also a preservationist.
Yes.
Because you acquired something extraordinarily special. What exactly did you acquire, Frank?
It was a mixing board that was used in Sound Center Studios down in New York City that was actually a board that was used and touched and controlled by Jimi Hendrix.
It actually has Jimi Hendrix DNA on it. So you and I are going to go straight from here, and we are going to clone a new Jimi Hendrix.
Absolutely.
So how did you get? First of all, I know that you're a studio musician. Mm-hmm. So, and you heard about from somebody that the history of this board, which wasn't really known by a lot of people.
Correct. The board was used down in the Sound Center Studios in New York. It was built by Gordon Clark and Lenny Stay. These were guys who were very involved with the change in music, the revolution, shall we say, in multi-track recording, and
going to 8-track.
Right. Excuse me. And they made this board, and it was known through New York City, and a lot of people were coming into there. And at a time when they were trying to get different sounds, Jimi Hendrix wanted to go outside of his management team and book time in Sound Center Studios, and did some remarkable stuff because they actually let him touch the board, which was the cool part because when he was working with his other management team, he had other people. But in the process of using the board, they would let him go, and he told these guys, I want to sound like I'm underwater. So for A Merman I Would Be, 1984, they actually let him play with the recorder, and if you listen to the song, you're going to hear a blah, 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 and that was him playing with capstan to make that. He created that sound in there. So it's kind of a unique kind of thing in that point. And the board...
So Hendrix experimenting, totally just kind of taking this new technology, and the same way that he would take the guitar and take it in other directions, he was doing the same thing with his 8-track.
Yes, he was trying to find out the ways that he could use it and use the technology that was available, and it was up and coming. And the things that these guys were doing, because this was a completely from scratch board that was not made by EMCO or any of the other manufacturers of boards at the time. This was hand built by these guys.
Frank, have you always been sort of a collector of like music memorabilia and instruments and equipment, or?
Well, I'm a musician, so you buy something, you don't let it go.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
In general, no, not in other things. I worked with the board. I worked with the board when it came up here into Schenectady into Vibrasound Studios, and even by today's standards, the board is fabulous to work with. It actually works, which is kind of funny because when Electric Lady Studios went out and the other boards that Kramer worked with Hendrix on were brought out, there's a couple in experienced Hendrix in the West Coast, and they gutted the board. They removed all the electronics. The boards do not work.
Right.
This board I was using in my home studio until it went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow. Okay, so how did that process go? How did the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame hear about you owning this board, and then it ended up there for 10 years, right?
Okay, yeah. Essentially, my wife was working as a waitress in a local restaurant, and my partner, as it is now, John Scheib, came in, and we were talking to him about this and she was saying, well, my husband has this board that Jimi Hendrix worked on. And John Scheib is a local guy who does volunteer work, and he was actually doing some projects for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And when he told June Francisco from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, June says, we would love to have that board if you can verify for us that it was done. That was actually the board, because there's this hole, and if that's the board that he worked on, they all knew about the hole for those 3 songs. So
there were these 3 songs that basically nobody knew where he recorded them and what he recorded them on. Right.
So when we went through and we found the Lenny Stay is still alive. Gordon Clark has passed away back in the early 90s. But we were able to interview Lenny Stay, Tommy Muccio, Angel Sandoval, who were 3 of the technicians who were working there at the time. And Angel was actually the guy who worked with Jimi Hendrix and showed him how to do the board. If you look at the board, you'll see that a lot of the controls are lever switches. They all light up.
Okay.
And center is yellow, right is green, and red is left. And when the board is active and it's working, it really looks like a spaceship.
Oh, cool.
So it's really a cool kind of thing, and you flip these things.
Kind of perfect for Hendrix, yeah.
Which is one of the reasons he wanted to go look at it and work with it, because that was one of his things. And
have you always been a Hendrix fan? Like, not just the albums, but the deep cuts?
Not really. I mean, I like music. I'm a musician. I love all kinds of music.
Right. You're a drummer.
Right.
Right.
So my stuff ranges from country to nouveau. I listen to just about everything.
Right.
And I appreciate music as an art form. I think of it as a form of communication.
Right.
But I love this board because it worked, and I wanted to preserve it. And when we actually did the interview and we told Lenny Stay that the board was here, we wanted to have him show us or give us some kind of thing that this was the board that Hendrix worked on. Mm-hmm. He came over to my studio, and the man literally started to cry.
Wow. Because
he said, I can't believe that anyone actually preserved this.
You know, it's fascinating, when you think about it, because there are stories of old World War II pilots who, go back and they go to the plane that they, the bomber that they used to be in and that type of thing. Yeah. But for musicians, it can be that way with a board or a bass or a guitar or a microphone or something like that, because this was the instrument, that, you were able to convey, yourself with. And, I mean, people don't understand, I started in music, that you never get rid of anything. You still have the first guitar or the first bass or the first. You probably have. Now sticks are different with drumsticks.
Sticks, yes.
Because you totally break sticks all the time with the drums.
Yes.
But I mean, literally with a drummer, it'll be like there'll be a head that you will love that particular one, and you will just keep it and you'll bring it out. I was in the studio in Woodstock, and Anton Fig. I was recording, doing a video with him, and he would bring in all of these different snares I wasn't really hearing a difference, but to him, oh my God, the difference between these different snares was just unbelievably huge. So I can imagine with Hendrix just the fact of playing a different, with not just different instruments, but through a different board, was huge. What do you think of the recordings that he actually did on it? What is your opinion of them?
I am blown away because of you listen to what he did, and you listen to the techniques that he used. 1984 we actually have the tape that he made down in New York City, because it went with the guy who sold the board and stuff like that. And Tommy Muccio has kept the archives for him. And he made 2 takes and tried different things on each take. And when you compare them, it's like, and the guys who were working in the studio were going, well, at the time, they were going, man, this guy is whacked.
Yeah.
Because it's like they never heard anything like that. It didn't make any
Right.
sense to them.
Right.
You know, and they knew that he was doing something with somebody somewhere in England, you know, and now he's over here and he's trying to do stuff over here.
But this is pre RU experience. This
Right.
is pre all of that, right? Okay.
Right. And he was doing things, and he was able to play with the board. The board has things that you don't even find on current mixing boards. There's a fader delay that you just hit the button. You set the timer that you want. You hit the button, and it automatically brings the sound. I mean, you listen to CDs. You know how they fade out at the end and stuff like
Right.
that. In most cases, it's the engineer turning the thing
Right.
down, turning
Right.
the volume.
Oh, absolutely.
This is an
Yes.
automatic switch that automatically did that. Because of the way the faders were done, you could flip back right channel, left channel, just by the flip of a switch. You weren't turning a pan. It had the pan control on it, but if you wanted to just do boom, 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 it's like you got to turn the fader. With this, it was flip, 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 flip.
Wow.
So there were cool things that you could do with the board. So when he was doing the sound for the Merman, the 1984 song, he was sitting there playing with the capstan and getting this sound like he was getting into water, and it was coming out of each side. It's great to listen to it.
Cool.
And that was the stereo mix down. We have the 8-track, so you could hear where he was doing it on the different things, and it was just great.
So, if I understand correctly, the board is now, it's not with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Correct.
It is now available to the public here at Proctors.
Right.
How, and is that going to be a permanent exhibition? Are you lending it to them? What's going on?
We're lending it to them, and we're happy to let them, you know, for however long, as long as it's here. And we've actually been looking at different museums to put it into, because it's the kind of thing that really should be seen. Because, and it's hard to appreciate. I was talking with John about possibly starting some kind of little rolling studio for musicians who want to go play with Jimmy, because if you put the tape on the recorder, or we can burn it to firewire too at this point, but you can run it through the machine,
Right.
and you could actually have somebody playing with Jimi Hendrix.
Wow, that's cool.
You know, it's obviously can't be sold or anything like that. It's just for us for private use and things like that. That's through the Hendrix Family Foundation.
Right.
You know, but they said, no, we have a copy, and if you want to have it for your own for stuff, that's cool.
Well, you obviously have just a great love for music. I mean, you know, you play drums, you play in a lot of local productions, theater. You're a reading drummer, which is an unusual thing.
Yeah.
You're not just a by ear guy. You
Right.
actually, you know, you're reading those little notes that no one else in the world can read.
Right.
And that much, I understand, your appreciation of something like this, because, you get to play so many different kinds of music and so many different things locally. I mean, you've been doing that for a number of years?
Oh, yes. I traveled on the road back in the late 70s, early 80s, and came back home and was doing regular nightclub band work, and then got hooked up with theater in one of the local high schools, and then started working at Schenectady Light Opera, and have been working in theater since, because for me, I don't want to say I have ADD, but the attention span, you go in, you do a show, you're doing a show for 2 weeks, and then you move on to the next show.
Right.
So it's always new and interesting. You don't get bored at it. So it's, okay, here's another book. Okay, here we go. Hey, we got these cuts. Play the song. Here we go. We do
That
it.
was kind of Hendrix too. Hendrix always, he would do one album, and then he would be kind of like, let's do another band. Let's do another. I want to play with different people. I want to try something different. I want to go with Billy Cox. I want to try, He had a little bit of that in himself also.
Yeah.
It was always needed to be something new for him.
Right.
And we have this immense body of work as a result of that, because he's always playing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did get a chance to go down, or to go to Cleveland when the board was at the Rock Hall, and go through the display that they had, and they had a film, and the film that they had of Hendrix, because This was stuff that they got from the family archives. So it wasn't the production stuff that everybody had been doing. It was more personal stuff. And it was to watch him play was just magnificent. I never obviously had the opportunity because of his untimely death. But just when you see the films of the things that he was doing and things that other people couldn't even perceive at the time, and he was just making it look like he was born to do it, which he was. You have to say he was born to do it, and creating stuff. I love the creation process of music. That's where my heart lies.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for preserving this and making it available to the public, and having the opportunity to, touch a piece of rock and roll history and, one of the gods of rock, It's, it's an amazing thing. I'm so glad that you had the foresight to see that, Frank.
Oh, thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome. So come to Proctors, check it out, and this is something that you're never going to see anywhere else. Thanks for being on the show, Frank, and thanks again for watching this episode of Impact. Let me stand next to your fire. Don't have manic depression. Hey, Joe.
Proctors, bringing the best in arts, education, and entertainment.